thousands of nerds have taken to the proverbial streets of the internet up in arms. The object of their ire? A small, sort of independent San Diego-based games company called Renegade Game Studios. If you're a frequent flyer of this program, you have heard me talk about Renegade Game Studios. I've had a bit of an enemies to lovers sort of relationship with them. However, today they announced Wave 2 for Heroscape. If you don't know what Heroscape is, there's a lot of lore behind it. I cover it here, but it's basically a war game that a lot of people thought was a board game that came out 20 years ago and is getting a relaunch. Now, what do I mean by Wave 2 of Heroscape? Well, think of it as release number 2 of Heroscape. In March, they announced Wave 1, which has a master set and I covered it, just watch the video. Today, they announced Wave 2 or Release 2, which comes out in October. So far, nothing for nerds to really get mad at. Wave 2 promises to have 4 individual releases coming out in October. Quick caveat, I am a referral partner of Renegade, so I do have a slight financial investment in you buying everything you possibly can. However, my hype is genuine and not because I can make $36 off you. There's going to be 2 army expansion sets, which are exactly what they sound like. They are expansions to your army, they are more units. The first one they revealed was the Revna's Rebuke Army expansion. Now, die-hard Heroscape nerds can be pretty stoked about this because this release has 5 new Kiri units. And yes, it's pronounced Kiri, years of people pronouncing it Kyrie, you are wrong. Anyways, for those of you who don't know what a Kiri is, it's kind of Heroscape's signature unit. They're basically like angelic warriors. Think of them as Valkyries from, Norse mythology. At first glance, all of these units look pretty cool. I'm going to be very happy to have them in my collection. If you were expecting more of an analysis, that is not this video. I'm just reading off what they say. We'll take a deeper dive in a later video. Anyways, the Revna's Rebuke Army expansion box is going to be $45 for the unpainted set and $65 for the pre-painted. Enter Nerd Rage. A lot of people are not very happy about that. If you do the math, that's $9 per figure unpainted, and I need to do some math. That's $13 per figure, which is a little steep, especially when you factor in how much units cost 20 years ago. But that's the thing, it was 20 years ago where like the average gallon of gas was like $1. The rage over the prices only continued with the second army expansion box that they announced. Now, I personally think these units look freaking sweet. The Iron Lich and the Necrotech Wraith Riders are some of the most unique looking figures I've seen ever. I'm totally expecting someone to be like, this is like standard sci-fi, what the f are you talking about? But I guess I'm too much of a normie. This set comes with a grand total of 4 figures. There's the Iron Lich Viscerat. It is a literal crab tank, and it's a warlord, which might not sound like a big deal to the uninitiated, but that means that they get warlord bonding with other squad units from classic Heroscape. In other words, they're designing these units to be fully backwards compatible. Next is the Necrotech Wraith Riders, which is a unique squad that comes with 3 figures. These guys have 8 movement, 3 attack, 3 defense, and only cost 90 points, which means they are like super OP. But once again, this is just a first glance. Maybe I'll do a proper analysis later down the line. Now, the outrage of the price only continues with this set because if you're keeping track, that is 4 figures that you get. And once again, they are priced at $45 for the unpainted box and $65 for the pre-painted box. That's $11.25 per figure for the unpainted and $16.25 for the pre-painted, which is pretty steep. Once again, still cheaper than a lot of the classic units, but also more expensive than some of the classic units. I know, that's a big old nothing burger of a sentence. Another complaint that people had on the internet was that neither of these army expansions featured common squads, which means you can only have 1 unit of each in your army. Now, I'm personally not too miffed about this. A, it's gonna be cheaper because you only have to buy 1. And B, as we know, they're going through all of the Age of Annihilation units with these first releases. If you're not caught up, Age of Annihilation was the name of the original HasLab campaign that Hasbro did to try and revive this 2 years ago. It failed, Renegade bought the rights, and now they're piecing it together in smaller chunks and releasing it over a longer period of time. Until they finish releasing all of those Age of Annihilation units, we're gonna see all unique heroes and unique squads. But they did say commons coming later. But moving on from people bitching, the other two releases are both terrain sets. Just like it says on the tin, both of these boxes come with only terrain. Some people speculate that they're releasing the terrain sets for people who don't care about Heroscape the game but want to use the terrain for like D&D or whatever. I personally don't care, but that is a thing that you could use. I know a lot of you don't care about Heroscape. If you've made it this far in the video, you can buy the terrain separate and use it for your own role-playing games. Anyway, the first of the two sets is called Lands of Valhalla, and that is exactly what it sounds like. You're gonna get 63 terrain tiles, which, if I understand this correctly, are 63 separate pieces, not 63 hexes. This set includes a 24 hex sand tile, which, if you know nothing about Heroscape, means nothing to you, but if you're big in the world, you know that's a big deal. It comes with 27 grass tiles total, 18 rock tiles, and 18 sand tiles. Now, the Lands of Valhalla costs $70, which is a point of contention amongst the angry nerds. $70 is a little bit steep, but when you factor in that nowadays you can get a Rise of the Valkyrie master set for about $80, which has like 75 pieces of terrain, plus a bunch of units that you probably don't need because you already have them, I think it's not necessarily a terrible deal. Also, these are brand new hexes. They haven't been sitting around in someone's garage for 20 years, so they'll probably hold up better. The last release that we're seeing in Wave 2 is the Waters of Valhalla. And once again, the community was complaining about this. A lot of people said that we don't really need water. People who've been invested in the game for a long time already have a lot of water. We know who's been invested in the game for a decently long time? Me. And I need more sparkly water. And guess what? Waters of Valhalla is sparkly water. No more of that stupid opaque shit that you get from Swarm of the Morrow or Rise of the Valkyrie, the second edition print or whatever. We're getting sparkly water again, baby. Let's go. In addition, we're also getting 3 hex water tiles, which people were complaining about because that's kind of useless for map making. It also features 6 wellspring water tiles, which I don't really know what those do, but I mean, that's cool, I guess. But the biggest news about the Waters of Valhalla is that it's $30, which for once the community wasn't complaining about the price. $30 for 35 total water tiles I think is totally fair. Would some people rather see lava or road or shadow or whatever? Yes, but Lee Huff said that that is coming in a later release. Speaking of later releases, they did confirm that there is going to be a Wave 3. Furthermore, Renegade is planning Heroscape releases all throughout 2025 and into 2026. So we're gonna see at least a year and a half of constant updates from the developer, which I can't complain about. Hopefully we'll see more. I guess it all depends on whether or not this stuff sells. Now, Renegade also talked about a bunch of stuff going on at Gen Con, which I don't really care about because I'm not going to Gen Con. I'm sure one of my colleagues is going to talk about this in their videos. So if you want to know that, then you should go watch their video. They did talk a little bit about Heroscape Day, which I don't actually know what day that is. There's going to be a promotional figure that comes with that. It's Cornelius Breach. He looks like a cool little pirate guy. And they followed that up by saying, if you miss Heroscape Day or any of the promotional figures that they're releasing, don't you worry, child, because 3 months after, roughly, you'll be able to buy them, which I'm a big fan of that move. But the last bit of news that Renegade Game Studios talked about today that didn't necessarily get fans up in arms, which is shocking, is the Battle Network. This is an organized play website that is hosted by Renegade. On it, there's all sorts of event hosting features. There's fully customizable player profiles. You can earn like feats and achievements and stuff. But worst of all for me, it tracks your tournament performance, which sucks because I'm trash. And now all of you at home will be able to see just how trash I am. That's everything they announced today. I personally don't think it's anything necessarily getting up in arms about. Yes, the new stuff is a little bit on the steeper side, but it's still cheaper than Warhammer, and I'm just glad to have new stuff. If you're also hype about the new releases and not butthurt and you want to pre-order it yourself, then I highly encourage you use the link in the doobly-doo, as Matt Colville says. It's a referral link. I get 10% of everything you buy. Of course, if you somehow made it this far and you have no idea what Heroscape is or how to play it, you should click right here. I'm once again promoting that video. And thank you so much for watching.